Greetings and salutations. It is Adam, and I am uploading a video to YouTube for your enjoyment. Hopefully, it has been quite a while since I have done so, and first off, just wanted to apologize for that, my lack of absence, whether that be making videos or watching yours and commenting on them. This is my probably 20th attempt at trying to record this, and if you've watched any of my older videos, you know that I absolutely loathe commentary. And before we jump into what this video is about, I just wanted to give a brief explanation. How come you haven't uploaded any videos? Well, honestly, I just haven't had a desire to do so. YouTube's a hobby, just like keeping cichlids, fish keeping is, which is my entire channel is focused on or centered around, is fish keeping, specifically cichlids. For those of you who enjoyed those videos, I'm sorry, but this video is not going to be about that whatsoever. Just something I wanted to share with you, something that I also have a passion for, just like keeping fish. I do intend to make some videos focused around fish. In fact, I bought some new fish 2 weekends ago. So, I certainly have no timetable for that, and it is what it is. I did want to put this together. In fact, I wanted to make this about roughly a month ago, which when the footage was shot, there is footage in this. This is just me rambling on. Right now you're staring at a picture. So I'll just jump right into it real quickly. As far as the enclosure itself, it's 16 feet by 10 feet. It was put together this year, started in April, and it's something that I wanted to do for a long time. Just never really got around to it. I knew I wasn't really going to do it on this type of a scale, and I want to thank real quickly my dad for helping me out with the design of it, and his assistance on putting it together that first day, and also my friend Banker, who came by and helped me with the trim pieces afterwards. I'm not a carpenter by any means. It's just basically putting together a wood box. It is sunk into the ground. I dug a trench. It's at least 6 inches deep on the inside perimeter. On top of it, you'll notice these yellow posts, and there's a wire that runs between them that is hooked up to a charger. It's an electric wire, essentially an electric fence, just to keep out critters, specifically raccoons and possums. There's other things around here as well, but our whole backyard is fenced in, but this is just added insurance. It does give quite a brutal zap. I've experienced it myself, and also watched people grab it and they were barefoot, and it was pretty hilarious. This picture on the screen now is from, I think it's like late July, maybe early August, kind of like in the early evening time. It's pretty overgrown at this point. Initially I had things planted specifically, but once things started going, I did absolutely no maintenance to it whatsoever. There's plenty of weeds growing and grass itself. Again, my dad transplanted some things from his yard and the woods around his house, and there is a Japanese maple in there. The water feature is pretty basic. It has a few tiers to it. Tops off maybe about 15 inches deep on the at its deepest point. There's no filtration, just a simple pump in there, 75 gallons per hour, and there's a couple aquatic plants as well. A lot of the rocks in there are, maybe you would notice, it's just leftover rocks from what I would buy to set up my aquariums for the most part. Nothing fancy there, and the goal was to make something as naturalistic as possible, just like I do with my aquariums themselves. And it turned out really nice. So the footage you're going to see isn't until October, and you know, this was something that I wanted to, take footage of, at this time, like when it was in the summer, when it was, things were booming, and the weather was hot, and everything was just alive. I just never got around to it. In fact, yeah, the footage is from October, but I'm not making this video until November. So, kind of gives you an idea of how busy I've been, or perhaps just, not making time specifically to record this commentary and put this together, because it does take time, and some days I just don't feel like doing it. And before we get into the footage itself, just real quickly give you a brief history. I was a reptile freak, or I guess I still am, and I've kept turtles for most of my life, and the majority of those were always aquatic species. Things like painted turtles, soft shells, common snapping turtles, things I could find, native to my area. And I started keeping them, before I was, I think, 10 years old. It was kind of trial by fire. Back then there wasn't a whole lot of information to be found. There was no internet, and as time moved on, things like Reptiles magazine came out, the Advanced Vivarium Systems series of books. So I learned a lot along the way, and then and continue to do so to this day. And this all started about 12 years ago, and a friend of mine who was a science teacher, one of his students brought in a turtle that they found wandering a parking lot. It was late October, early November. Of course, he called me. The turtle was a box turtle, a 3-toed box turtle, in bad condition, dehydrated, super overgrown beak, long nails. Someone had painted on its shell years and years ago, just embedded into its shell. It was in really bad condition. I'd never kept a box turtle, but I took it from him anyways, and I've had that animal ever since. And initially I thought it was a male. I took it to a vet and was told that it was a female. So for the last 12 years, I just took the vet's word for it. It turns out that the animal is definitely not a female. I did add to the collection here, and at this point of the commentary, I don't even know if I mentioned it. I did add additional animals to the enclosure. This isn't just for one animal, so there is males and females in there, and there's been quite a bit of breeding activity this year, up until I think it was sometime in September. So anyways, that animal that we got 12 years ago, that I got, was named by a friend initially, right away, as Shelly, of course, the most common name I assume for a turtle. He still has that name. It's tough to call him her, he, whatever, a him, because it was always thought of as a female. Anyways, I'm just completely rambling on now. I will say that get me over the hump for this commentary. I'm enjoying a frosty Sam Adams winter lager, specific to this time of year, and I'm very excited about it. So the footage you're going to see, like I said, was from early October. I'm going to mix in some photos along the way to explain a few things. I assume this video is going to be very long. If you're not interested in turtles, I apologize, but at times the footage may be a bit shaky. I'm going to try and keep those moments to a minimum by editing them out. So this is going to be an insanely long video. Here it is in October. Obviously things are winding down, and as the footage goes on, it's not all in chronological order. Also, things to note in the far left hand corner, It's kind of like my little Shire Hobbit hole hide. It's flat ground, and the log on the right is a dug-in trench. Most of the turtles really congregate there, whether that be at night or like this time of year. They are all kind of tucked in there. That hide offers a more humid environment, collects a lot of water and mud, and here you can kind of see the pond and the lilies themselves. The pond is small, it's only 10 by 6 as a whole. It doesn't look quite that big, it's just the overgrowth of everything and the angle make it look a bit smaller than that. In fact, I'm sorry, it's only I think it's 4 by 6. Must be the winter logger talking. And we're gonna kind of swoop in here any second. On the right you see this weed that's growing, that's falling apart. It got up to about 7 feet tall, I believe, this year. Completely insane. And I'm just gonna kind of do this commentary in one go, piecing things together. Who am I kidding? This will take several goes. But most of the wood and everything was collected out in the woods near my mom and dad's house, and there you can see Shelly, kind of. This footage was just taken sweeping around the enclosure. I wasn't trying to do anything fancy. Here is a male. He's quite shy, and he has a lot of cool orange tinge to his skin. Again, this is in October. Things are kind of winding down. There's where I brought my electrical in, that outdoor box that does run underground to the pump. And there is Shelly right there. You can kind of see the overgrown beak here. He is next to a female, and he's never able to get the beak any shorter than that, unfortunately. He's probably one of the ugliest three-toed box turtles I've seen. Looks pretty good in that photo there. That is on top of that Hobbit Shire-like thing sometime in the summer. I don't remember when the photo was taken. I did not stage them there. They often climb up there, whether that's just to catch some sun or to maybe look outside of the enclosure itself, because it does get above the walls of it. They're incredibly curious and quite personable as a whole. Whether they are an outgoing animal or a shy animal, they do have that sense of curiosity about them at all times, and I think that's one of the attractions of keeping them. Okay, moving on. Some Blair Witch type footage here. These animals just kind of tuck in, dig in wherever. This is another male, a super colorful boy. He is got a lot of nice color to the forelimbs and the face. He's been extremely sexually active, and in fact, like notice a lot of that activity steps up when it rains. They're super active when it's wet out, whether that be during or after or even before. I guess I'm just tucking them right back in. I like to put them back anywhere if I do decide to pick them up. Delicious Dunkin' Donuts. Let's have a chug. Again, I haven't watched this footage for quite some time. And here's a look at the pond. It's really filled in with some leaves. Oh, and here's a green frog that my wife found in the yard while weed whacking it. It was about the size of a nickel. We did add it, and over the course of about 3 months, it probably, quadrupled in size. It's huge now. Actually, I just saw him today in November. Here's that log I was talking about. It has the main entrance and a rear entrance. stays quite humid down there. The 2 entrances was on purpose. I didn't want them getting stacked up there and can't get out. Here's some ferns. Oh, and there's a little gathering of them, and this is what can sometimes happen. I'm not sure what this guy was doing. This one is his name is Pup. Reason being, he had the attitude, the personality of a puppy dog immediately. You could see the tail and the vent there, pretty indicative of a male. He's a wily little boy, always active. One of the turtles that seems to always be out no matter what. Here I'm digging up another one. This is Clyde Bruckman, named after an X-File episode. He's got a lot of nice focusing. There's a lot of berry juice all over his face. He was definitely dining on that typical 3-toed box turtle shell pattern. He's got a little speckling in there. It's quite faded, but he was extremely shy initially. Has really overcome that. This is a female. She is the smallest out of all the turtles out there, and I think that this was done after some rain, so a lot of times it'll be pretty muddy. She is quite colorful, and I do want to scan to a photo for that here. So I couldn't find that photo I was talking about. I never transferred over here to Sony Vegas, but I'll just briefly show some. I don't know how times I said briefly during this. This will be an epically long video. But a few females that we do have, and one of them being this girl here. She's incredibly colorful. Got a lot of nice speckling in the shell. I have seen her breeding. I'm not sure if those are successful matings or not. But as a whole, all the females in here I have seen breeding, quote unquote, including some egg laying. As you can see here, this actually happened while I was digging out the corners to make some areas that would be suitable for nest laying, and out of nowhere she just started digging this pit, and the end result was 3 eggs. I did not pull the eggs. I did not try to incubate them. Maybe next year. Maybe next year I'll give it a go and just raise the babies up a bit and sell them. That is not the ultimate goal of this enclosure, to make money. It's just for enjoyment. The same way I keep fish. I may have anywhere from 2 to 15 different species spawning at any given moment, and it's like, what am I going to do? I don't have the resources to rear and raise all these animals. It's not a priority, or basically the wife said no, so I move on and go to the next thing. So there's this young female, and these are ostrich ferns, I believe they're called. The initial ones we planted didn't do well. They kind of got melted by the sun in the spring. The new shoots that came up did okay. I'm probably going to figure out something different for that corner for next year. There's a turtle there. I believe that is Skeletor, which is another boy. Let's see here, and yes, he has been feasting on berries as well, which is that purplish coloration around his mouth. He's got that white beard to him. He's also nicely colored and sexually active. Here's a photo of him in September at some point. I'm not sure. It's funny. Well, when you catch them in the act, they both stare at you. It's like, hey man, get a room. He's not the most personable of all of them, and there was that particular days offering some tomato, blackberries, bananas. Generally just lay out fruit or maybe some lean meat, veggies to an extent, and then supplement the diet with live food here and there and whatever they can find in the enclosure. Here's another look at the pond and the lilies themselves. Had quite a few flowering lilies this year. They'd pop up just during the sun. There's that weed I was talking about, which was freaking huge. I just never bothered ripping it out. Overall, when I first made it, it did not look anything like this. But as it matured and things filled in, I just didn't feel a need to rip anything out. I just wanted to let it go and look as natural as possible. Here we are, just feeding some night crawlers, and I usually kind of try and move a turtle here or there to feed individually, because some of them are more rambunctious and energetic than the rest. And as you can see here, things kind of escalate. They always fight over food when it comes to crawlers, and sometimes you get a bit heated. I don't like to do this. As you see, that one just bit the other guy's leg. I'd rather them eat in peace, but it is comical to watch, as long as you're kind of watching to make sure things are okay. I just find it humorous sometimes. In this instance, they were able to break the worm in half and enjoy it. But here comes Pup, who is pretty enthusiastic, and he takes a tumble. They absolutely love live food, box turtles, anything with movement. They go absolutely bonkers for. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I apologize about the Blair Witch footage. Just grabbing some more worms. But as far as live foods go, anything goes. I've even seen them feeding on birds that happen to die and fall into the enclosure. Not that they were live per se. They will really key in on anything that moves, but will also scavenge, especially anything dead. They came upon a dead animal, like a bird, they would definitely dine on it. I've also fed things like something like commercially available stuff like super worms and wax worms, things of that nature. And here's a look at that hidey log. It like to throw crawlers right at the entrance there, and this is the largest female here. Typical three-toed box turtle type of shell, but she's got a lot of nice color in the face and the forelimbs. And the boy right next to her is pretty muddied up. He actually looks really nice when he's cleaned up. Here he is now. He's got incredible eyes and coloration overall. Just a real stunner in my book, and he's a bit shy. I'm hoping that maybe by next year sometime he comes a little out more like a good old Pup, but we'll see. So that essentially does it. An incredibly long video for a box turtle enclosure. I'm just gonna stop talking as I am incredibly tired. And if you made it this far, I guess thanks. And also thanks to my friends over at Tortoise Forum for their help and assistance along the way. Take care. Go Bears.
uppercut! Tiger uppercut! Tiger uppercut! You lose!